this weird Tyrese cop thing. Like they felt like they were giving them a lot of screen time for Tyrese not to do
Listen,
any
I'm just
acting.
glad to see Tyrese back in the act.
I'm just glad he getting a check.
Yeah, man.
But like Hello, Joe. Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Heroes Peak podcast. I am your host, Chris, and I am here with my fellow contestants, Mr. Florida down there. James, how you doing? Down in the Sunshine DeSantis state.
Sweating. Freaking humid. 90 degrees today.
Hey,
90 degrees. Jesus.
can you adjust?
Got all the heat. Also with me today is Keith. How you doing, Keith?
What's going on? What's going on, good people?
Not much. And of course, the star of our podcast is Mike. How you doing, Mike?
Not too bad. Got some of that. James was nice enough to send some Florida weather our way, so
Was it?
Ah, so it broke 40 up there,
that's
huh?
right. Half the snow melted.
Polo ice caps.
That's
I was
right.
going to
A
say,
balmy,
polo ice
a
caps are
balmy
melting.
20 degrees.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So we had this conversation last week. We're going to be changing up our format. So this week's podcast is all going to be Mike's pickup lines. So I'm going to hand this right over to Mike, and just going to help some of you guys out. This is like a lot.
How you doing?
Whoa, no.
You know, James almost lost his train
That's
there.
basically the killer.
That's right. Look deep into her eyes. All right.
Is your dad an astronomer?
I can't.
Because he
Not
took your
cool,
eye
man.
and put
Not
it in
cool.
the stars? Or no, I messed that one up.
Something.
Not cool. Not cool.
Because
at
a
all.
killer virus fell down and killed the
That's right.
dinosaurs and created you and me. We were meant to be. All right. So honestly, we are going to do.
Let's go, man. I got bugs out here flying around. And
We're going to do one review today, and that's going to be the infamous, the wonderful, the highly acclaimed Morbius. Yes, that's right. We actually sat down, spent our time watching Morbius. Just for everybody here.
I think
So
I heard
you
Keith
don't
loves
have
this
to.
movie, so I can't wait.
Yo, see, you're such an extremist. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody say I loved the movie. I said I enjoyed the movie. It's two
Same
totally
shit.
different
Yeah.
sentiments.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to bring up my text chain from last night for you guys as I was live watching it. All right, so this is the 2022 action horror MCU adjacent, Doctor Who adjacent, DC adjacent, vampire superhero movie, just in theaters only, and starring Mr. Jared Leto, directed by Daniel Espinosa. I have no idea what he has done before.
of Marvel and DC now.
Okay, so let's see here. He did things I haven't. Oh, Safe House. I remember seeing Safe House.
Yeah, that was a good
Wasn't
movie.
bad.
Ryan
That's
Reynolds
Yeah.
And Denzel.
Mm-hmm.
and Denzel.
Denzel, yeah.
Thanks, Keith.
So not a lot much else. You know, whatever. The Fighter. No, that's a short. That's not the one I'm thinking of. Okay, anyway.
That's not the fighter with
Yeah, that's not that one. Written by Matt Sazama. Screen story. Story by Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
You've heard of this. You've seen this, right? You know what that is.
It is unavoidable. It is your destiny.
Is this not why you are here?
Do or do not. There is no choice.
Knock that shit off.
All right. Anyway, I don't even have to tell you what, guys. This is about
Fuck,
Dr.
that's a big bug. Sorry. Sorry. Holy shit.
How big are the
We're
bugs
live,
in there?
guys. We're live. There's some big bugs here in Florida. And we got a freaking gate around this pool house.
right? You have to, otherwise the gators get him.
Otherwise, it'd be like Tyrannosaurus Rex size bug.
Right.
James went
So
to Jurassic Park this week.
Yeah,
Basically, that's
yo.
what it feels like. So come on, Chris.
Florida,
Let's get straight. Let's forget the synopsis. Let's
we're
get straight
trying
to
to
this
get there.
movie. Like at
Florida's
some
like
point, you're
So
gonna see a
Seahawks.
bug on the camera that's gonna land on my phone. You'll be like, "What the fuck? We lost
All
James."
right, we'll be
Yeah, we
back
did.
after this 20-minute break.
according to the Morbius script, if you whatever blood gets into you, you're gonna turn into that thing. So
That's right.
Yeah,
be careful. Be careful,
we turn
James.
into a fruit fly.
They should have
All right.
called this movie COVID
Anyway,
19.
Oh, that's too soon. Too
that's
soon.
bad. So this stars Jared Leto as Michael Morbius, the way too friendly, way too much of a nice guy doctor, um, trying to cure his own disease as well as that of his best friend, played by Matt Smith, his
From
best friend
Terminator
Milo,
Genesis.
Wait,
Doctor Who adjacent,
he
as I
was in
said.
Genesis?
Yes, he was. He was
Yeah, he was.
not
He
John
was. He was
Connor.
the
He
No, I
was
know he wasn't
no.
John
He
Connor.
was. He was the computer. He was
yeah, he was Skynet.
Ah,
He was Skynet.
shows you how much I love that
Skynet.
movie.
That's right. Same amount as this one.
Yeah.
Um, and their father figure, Jared Harris, Dr. Emil Nicholas. I mean, let's say, this has got a pretty decent cast in it. If you just look at the cast list, you're like, oh, outside of Tyrese, who just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, everybody else in this movie, you're like, oh, that's a pretty good actor. Like, I might like this. And you start watching it, you go through the first 20 minutes, you're like, I don't know what everybody's bitching about. This is fine. Yeah, we had to deal with, being bullied as a kid, as most superheroes do. But then it just kind of hit some rocky ground after like 25 minutes. And then, I don't know, for me, it took a big drop after like 45 minutes. Like, what did you guys think of this movie? James, let's start with you. What did you think of Morbius?
It wasn't Fast and Furious level of doo doo in honor of Brooks, D for doo doo. It wasn't as, yeah, I'm just saying, yeah. And it wasn't yeah, she's not dead, Queen of the Pod still alive and breathing. Um, and I don't want to say it was as entertaining and enjoyable as Keith is about to say. I just want to say it's a very, very, very subpar superhero comic book movie to the point where I felt like they didn't need to really make this movie. It brought no value. It didn't progress anything in either franchise, whether it be MCU or Sony, Spider-Man, IP. And I found myself at one point so distracted that I was looking at my phone and checking work emails. That's how bored I was as was watching the movie. Now, granted, there are some moments in the I want to say third act, that had some great special effects, great sound, as they need to, because if you're doing something like this, you're doing an epic movie. Um, sorry, as I'm getting thank you, Chad.
That must
Uh,
be nice.
so granted,
He's got
I have
on-site
to
producer
admit
tonight.
that
Yeah, dang.
Mike, you're falling short here,
Yeah,
Mike. Look,
I
I even
know.
got pickles. I don't eat pickles. Um, I have to say, granted that most superhero movie third acts you want to focus, you want big budget, all that stuff, and I think from what I was able to see from this movie, they really focused on the special effects. There's some great moments of special effects with Morbius and Jared Leto's character transporting and moving, gunfire, all that kind of stuff. But that was after like almost an hour and a half of trash freaking storyline and plot that made me feel like I don't care anymore. Like, okay, great. Now you're blowing your load in this last moment of the movie. Fine. Great. But I was really shocked but you know where I was shocked that Sony released this, but now I know why they delayed it as long as they did.
I'm not
So,
shocked Sony to release this.
yeah, that's my take, Chris. That's all I got.
All
Let me
right.
enjoy this burger.
Keith, I'm going to let you go next. What did you think of Morbius, the vampire
I
doctor?
I thought it was entertaining enough. Um, and outside of the super nerdy lens that you guys might, try to look at all of these movies in, to me, it looks like something. To me, it looks like something separate to those MCU. I don't think it's connected to those MCU, what you call it. And I see like the introduction of some of those ancillary, just like regular kind of comic book characters, and it looks like a whole different lane. I don't even like. To me, I'm not even watching it. After watching it, I didn't really relate it to anything MCU, and it didn't really have to be, in my opinion. I think just like the comic books, it's a whole different branch, and I kind of dig that. And like even the fact of the alluding to the alluding to the to Vulture man at the end of the movie in the post credits. Like to me, like that's what solidified it. Like, oh, they're opening up a different lane. Like they're opening up a different lane, and I'm all for it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like these, now you get your other characters outside of those main, like the Avengery, blah 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 blah. Like you get those unrelated comic books that aren't related to those to those joints, and like you get like different storylines and a whole different actual brand. And I'm not mad at that. The things that I didn't like in the movie, like, although I did like the special effects in general, but I didn't like the one particular, like how they interpreted his fast movements. It looked a little bit more like Nightcrawler, like he was like blashing blap 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 from here to there, and I didn't really like that, and it annoyed me a little bit actually. Oh yeah, and some of the plot pieces, Milo, I think, like I feel like they developed him too, like that whole Milo situation was developed way too fast. Like I didn't get any gist of like importance of time and him in the story, and even when he became the villain, like I just didn't. Everything progressed way too fast. I think like it just, yeah, like they crammed some stuff in when it needed to be more information given to us. Like there needed to be more, and I didn't like. But outside of it, as to me, a off the MCU rails separate comic book line of movie, I'm not mad at that. I welcome that.
All right, all right. Good. Good to have that perspective. Mike, what is your perspective?
Yeah, some good points, Keith. So full disclosure, I had no interest in this movie. Like when they announced it, when they showed trailers, like I had, like, can we stop making entire movies about villains, trying to make the villains likable? Like joke, as much as great as Joker and Joaquin Phoenix were, that's another movie I had no interest in just a Joker movie. Like Joker to me has to have Batman. Like they have to be going at it. That's the epitome of that. That clash has to be there for me. Like this one, you're trying to make a vampire likable, which is fine. We've had likable vampire movies, whatever, right?
Into the Vampire and Rice. Shout out.
Yeah, exactly. And they tried to do the same thing with Venom, and it's like people like Venom. I get it. Not as many people know Morbius, but I don't need a whole movie that's a villain origin story, right? We used to have back in the day our superhero, and we'd introduce the villain and we'd show 10, 15 minutes of their origin story, right? And now we're stretching it out to 2 hours, and it doesn't work for me. So, but on that, I don't hate this movie either. It wasn't terrible. I think they did a good as job as they probably could. Though a couple things bug me, that really cheesy dance scene with Matt Smith in the middle. I don't know what the hell that was
Yeah.
about. But
Me neither.
whatever.
That's the
And
part I
then,
think
You
I was
didn't want to
falling
see
asleep.
the Matt Smith beefcake.
yeah,
I
I
was starting to fall
guess.
Come
asleep at
on.
that part of the movie.
Yeah, I
they showed
actually
him
dozed off
that he
twice
was
watching this, by the
swole.
way. I fell asleep a couple times too. So
It
and
was
and the
terrible.
whole and
It
the
did
whole
lag.
hmm?
It did lag.
Yeah, and um, I don't know. It's fine for what it is, I guess. But like I said, I don't think we don't need these anti-hero. He's not even an anti-hero
Why?
really,
Why not? Why
He's
not?
not.
Why not?
because I think they're better
All
served
right.
as an actual
In a movie with
villain
the hero,
with a hero.
antagonist
Well,
to the
here,
I'm
hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you on the Joker one, but I think
Mhm.
only because psychologically we know Joker is Batman's villain. We
Right.
know that.
Yeah.
Like Morbius is a whole new like introduction into our like psychic stream. Why can't he
I
be
get it,
something
but
different?
for me, I don't need 2 hours to introduce me to Morbius. Right? I introduce me to
all right.
Morbius in another
Yeah.
Spider-Man movie. You know,
All right. Well,
See, but
I
that's
think
what I'm
see
that's
saying.
that. And
Now you're
sorry, let me
pulling it.
hang on.
You're
Let me
pulling
just
it
finish.
back into the MCU, like
Hmm.
in the comic books, they never like maybe you know what I'm saying. Like there are storylines and comic characters that never interact with the Avengers, with the what you
I
call
get that.
like
Yeah, that's
let
fine.
it let it just live on its own. I'm not, and to me that offers more opportunity for a wider range of characters to emerge and storylines,
Sure.
and maybe we shouldn't be so beholden to what we see with the MCU as being the only judge of what can be.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's fine.
everything being
But
said by Keith, by the way, is great, but this was not the movie or the character to
yeah,
actually
I
take
don't think
that.
so either.
Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah.
when you introduce Vulture from the MCU, which that whole thing
When
was
I,
confusing to me.
Spoiler.
I get
Spoiler.
that he was ripped from the other universe because of Doctor Strange. But
it's not how it works.
please explain this to me, somebody. He's in another universe without the Avengers, but he built a vulture suit
Okay.
the same vulture suit from the parts that he collected from the Chitauri
All
invasion.
right. Okay.
Sony
I'm going to
fucked up.
explain this to you.
Sony fucked up.
It's very easy. Sony, see what happens is Sony wants you to think about the movies you like, the MCU, when you see the movies that you watch having their brand.
Mm-hmm.
And so they went, "Oh my god, the MCU made this $1 billion movie
Excuse me.
that had this character in it and we have access to him? Holy shit." So we bet that's what happened.
And then he's talking about Spider-Man. Meanwhile,
Who
Morbius and
doesn't
Bilo
exist
tearing up
yet.
New York City. There's no Spider-Man around. Who's Spider-Man? Who?
But hold on,
All
let
right.
me ask
So,
you a better question, Mike. How did
Mm.
he know Venom when he was like, I'm Venom. I'm
Right.
just kidding."
None
Like
of this
Venom
makes
didn't even have a
sense.
name.
Yeah.
Like he like yeah, man.
okay.
Sorry, Keith. I'm
So,
sorry.
so I'm gonna go my overall thoughts here. So number one, Sony just want you to think about the MCU. It's so hard. Everything it says Marvel, 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 Marvel. It never says Sony bring the Sony universe or the Sony Spider-Man universe with
yeah,
with
because
help
these are
from
still
Marvel.
all
It's
Marvel characters. How you expect them to
they
market it?
are they
How do you
are, but
expect them to market it?
they're not pushing their name at all. I don't know if that's in the contract or whatever. It's just noticeable that
The average
they're
kid
pushing.
doesn't know this is Sony versus Marvel. They don't know
Yeah,
that.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
Right.
go
yeah.
to the movie and they're
Exactly.
like,
I agree. I agree. And they like that. They want that. They
but
don't
dude,
care.
it just makes sense. It's a Marvel character. It definitely. Why wouldn't you?
So this is the hard part. Okay. So you have Spider-Man is one of the most popular, if not
not one, the most popular Marvel character.
the most popular. Like he outsells Batman most of the time. It's those two. He is the most popular comic character on the planet. Like he
No,
sells
it's
merch.
Batman. It's
He
Batman.
sells.
It's
We've had
up
this
there,
debate
but yeah.
already.
Go
It's
ahead.
Batman.
It goes back and forth,
Hmm.
but Spider-Man is
I don't
Who
know. I
who
don't
made more
know.
movie? Who made more money in the last
I
6
would need some
months?
proof on that
Yeah,
because
but
I
who
feel
made
like
money
it's
over the entire
debatable.
IP?
It's
Hold on, who made more
debatable.
money
Okay,
over the
I'm
entire
telling
IP
you,
franchise?
look it up. I'm telling you, Spider-Man and Batman are number 1 and number 2.
And the
They go
amount of
back and
people that
forth,
have
but
Superman tattoos, I feel like,
Who
it
am I?
might
Number
be
unfortunately,
for,
three.
we're
it
Superman,
getting
might be
off
for
track,
Superman,
Joe.
Superman.
That's not the.
He's
barely.
number
Yeah.
three. He's number
Okay. Okay.
We're
three.
getting
Anyway.
off
Anyway.
track here.
Anyway.
Come on.
The whole point is, Spider-Man literally is money. Like
For Sony, right?
they own. Sony
For
has
Marvel too,
that
not just Sony.
character. It has as many versions of that character as they want. They don't have to use Tom Holland.
You can
They
use
can
Miles
use whatever
Morales. They
fucking
can use
version that they want
Bring me
and
Spider
print
Ham.
money. But for some reason, they have decided that they wanted to create, because they weren't allowed to be within the Marvel universe, that they were going to create, which is fine. That's what they own. That's what they should be doing. But they decided they were going to make villain origin stories. I'm like, okay, you can make a cool villain origin story. But now, instead of making a villain origin story, they're making hero origin stories using Spider-Man villains. Because Morbius, at no point in this movie does Morbius look in any shape, manner, or form like a bad guy. He literally is made to be the nicest, kindest, gentlest dude on the planet, saving 6 kids, saving his sick friend. Like, that's the character they designed.
But they showed him killing, but he killed people though.
Because he had to live.
Okay,
That
so
was for survival, though.
because
this
he.
this is
Yeah.
this is where the story gets weird.
Yeah.
All right, so this could have been a great Jekyll Hyde type storyline.
Right.
Him fighting the monster within. He's got to survive, but his better nature and this great fight. But what they did was they gave him, number one, a cop out. So they gave him blue blood he had already created, so he doesn't have to kill anybody. Blah blah blah. Right. Then they create this timer mechanism. Like, okay, that could be interesting. Count down to when he's actually gonna have to revert. But no, somehow, or for some reason, they decide to make a second vampire who's actually the bad guy vampire.
Yeah, that was
So
stupid.
you can see how good Morbius is, because this is the bad vampire. This is a good vampire.
Yeah.
So now they have to fight.
He
And then
just randomly kills
Hadouken.
people, so he's
He,
definitely the bad
right,
guy.
exactly. And then they create a third vampire by the end for no real reason
Oh yeah,
whatsoever.
that shit.
But like, this movie goes out of its way to make Dr. Morbius a nice guy, a good guy, and in no way is he ever trying to harm a living person, unless it's the first time out, and it's okay because they're mercenaries. The cops literally
Yeah,
say
what the
they're
fuck?
just mercenaries. they probably killed somebody.
Yeah.
By the way, the worst cops I've
But then
ever seen on screen.
But the nurse too though. The nurse
The nurse
after
was his.
that.
Yeah.
No, that
That
wasn't him.
That was Milo.
That was the bad guy vampire.
Yeah, that was Milo who did that.
Yeah, that was Milo.
They literally, like,
Yeah.
it would have been interesting if Morbius kept waking up and he kept killing people.
Right.
Speaking of, like, Moon Knight style, like, you're like, he's got to fight this demon inside and blah 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 blah. Like, that's always an interesting concept. It's been done, but it can be cool. But no, they copped out, made a second guy with the exact same ailment, but he let him be the bad guy in this weird setup where this guy, for some reason, is just willing to kill people willy-nilly.
Yeah, that didn't make sense
Like,
to
I
me
don't
either.
know why.
Why all of a sudden he's
That-
just evil? Just because?
His character was never set up
Because
to
he
be
was
this
bullied
kind
as a
of
kid.
evil.
So
But you know what? Hold on, they gave us that montage. Hold on,
I know.
They did give us that little
That montage.
montage. Because you know every movie got to have a montage these days.
So this
He's
is
the
why.
purple guy. Yeah.
But this is why at the end, when Vulture says we should team up against Spider-Man, and Morbius goes, "That's interesting."
Who?
There's no number one, there's no Spider-Man.
Right.
Number two, they're both good guys. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's a
That's
bad
why-
guy here.
No,
Like,
hold
if
on.
they put
Chris,
Venom and Morbius
Chris,
in,
the internet will find you snapshots of like actual Spider-Man information posted on certain fucking sites and scenes and buildings. Yeah, I've gone through this. Somebody said, "Oh, look, there's a photo of like the Spider-Man logo on this building that was shot in the movie." So
All right,
somehow you can't say Spider-Man doesn't exist.
No, but it's not even that
All right,
Spider-Man exists. It's you wanted the whole movie. You're making Morbius a good guy, and then at the end, all of a sudden, this bad guy comes up to him and says, "We should team up against this other good guy," and he goes, "Yeah." That doesn't make
and
sense.
a person he's never met.
Yeah,
A person he's never
Right.
met. Like, what does he know? Why would he even team up? Why would that be interesting? How would they get in contact?
why would I care? You know, I'm a little
It
And
would
you
be
guys
more
are both
interesting.
in prison. You guys are both.
It would
in
be
prison.
more. It would be more interesting if all of a sudden, if it was like, hey, I'm hearing stuff about this Venom thing killing people. I'm gonna go be a hero and gonna fight this Venom creature.
Right.
That's a better after credit scene to set up something more interesting.
Good point. Yeah.
Like, there's a million things. He could try to be a hero and fail. That's
Sony,
interesting.
let's be honest. Sony just
But
supposed to pump out these movies with the characters that they own to make profit. They don't really care about the freaking continuity, any of the stuff we're talking about. They don't. Let's be honest.
I'm outside of like the Spider-Man continuity, like just watching this movie within its own universe. Number one, there's just so many missing story beats, so many things I didn't understand watching this movie. Number one, the little girl, he was in the room, he's being the nice guy doctor,
Mhm.
he's helping her out. What happened to her? Nothing. We don't know because
we
he
don't
just
know.
turned
Put
into
her
a
in a coma.
vampire and ditched. That's right.
That's right.
The cop, this weird Tyrese cop thing, like they felt like they were giving them a lot of screen time for Tyrese not to do
Listen,
any
I'm
acting.
just glad to see Tyrese back in the act.
I'm just glad he getting a check.
Yeah, man.
But like they gave those guys a lot of screen time to do nothing.
But to be fair,
Yeah,
to
they
be
didn't
fair,
help the plot along. They didn't help the plot along at
no,
all.
but to be fair, Tyrese in his last movies, maybe dozen movies, I think, has been relegated to token black guy. That is whack,
Yeah,
bling
yeah.
bling,
Or comic relief.
guy. Yeah,
Well,
Transformers.
don't worry. He had his sidekick.
Transformers.
his
Yeah, his
partner,
sidekick in this movie was even worse.
his
His
partner,
sidekick was even worse.
his partner played by Al Madrigal. Al Madrigal is a stand-up comedian who used to work on the
he's
Daily
funny.
Show. Like, why would you
But he
cast?
was terrible in this movie.
This is terrible casting.
Well, because they wanted a funny guy, and if you're not gonna make you have a straight guy and a funny guy for the cops, that's fine. That's a classic pairing. But they didn't do anything.
Right.
Number one, can I ask you this? Morbius finds out he can basically fly, jumps 20 stories to the top of the building, almost gets blown off by a strong breeze, turns around, and Tyrese is right behind him. How the fuck did
He did not know he could fly then. No.
I know, but how did Tyrese get to the top of the building?
Yeah,
in
that's
30
a good
seconds?
question. There is no way that Tyrese could have gotten to that position in that time, in that amount of time. I give you that. But it was not the first
He
time
fucking
that
turned around, and I'm like,
he hadn't flown
where
yet.
did he come from?
He called Vin Diesel and said,
And
"Can I
then-
borrow a car? I need to take a trip up the building."
And also, you're bulletproof. Why the hell are you giving yourself up to the cops?
Yeah, that part was stupid too. Yes.
But anyway, I know it's to just stick him in jail to have the little thing so he can meet his Milo and find out Milo's the bad guy. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but
I understand
we
it's
also
a plot
remember
point.
in Man
It
of
doesn't
Steel, Superman allows himself to get handcuffed, and then he tells him, by the way, these cuffs do nothing, and he breaks it. I mean, it's
That's
a
funny.
comic book
I find that-
superhero movie. Yeah.
That's funny
what
because Superman is willingly doing it. In this case, he looks like he's falling apart. He's like, I've only got 6 hours. What am I going to do? You're like, dude, you could just break out right now. Why wait 6 hours?
Sure.
Like, it was...
So
it's a bad character.
You know what made to me what would have made this movie just a little bit more awesome is if you had Andrew Garfield in it, capturing Morbius, put him in jail, tie that in with when Strange breaks the multiverse, and Garfield gets sucked into the other universe. We don't see him for the rest of the movie, except
That
now
would've
we've
been
got
great.
Vulture come back, and so we assume he's
would've
gone
been
back as
great.
well. Because all the rumor mills are talking
that's
about
more...
Amazing Spider-Man 3, right? So
Was Spider-Man 3? Yeah.
So the question is, when they started the movie, did they know what
No,
Spider-Man
they didn't.
movie was?
So Morbius was
They
written
could
before
only
No
do
Way
it at the end.
Home. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Morbius was already like green lit, everything before No Way Home. So they didn't expect the No
Yeah,
Way Home success.
and like I said, like the first 20
Hold on,
minutes, I was
as
like,
I'm
this is
watching Eric
fine. I
get
don't
straight pile
understand.
drive chase over here. Sorry.
What?
I don't understand what all the hate is about, and it just got on a rocky road where it wasn't sure which direction it was going. It tried too hard to be a superhero origin as opposed to a villain. They refused to do a villain origin.
Yeah.
Like, at least the Joker was a villain
Right. Yeah.
origin.
Okay. I'll give you
He's a
that. Yeah.
villain,
I agree
So
there.
was
and so now they
Avengers Infinity War was a villain origin as well.
right, and so now we've got Venom, who's had 2 hero movies. We've got Morbius, who's had a hero movie. We've got, what's his name, the Hunter,
Craven. Yeah.
Craven.
Craven. Craven again with no Spider-Man, which means he's going to be the hero of the story. I'll
Jesus.
bet you $20
And
right
you
now
know what's sad
that
about
dude.
this is Craven is
Mhm.
probably one of the best Spider-Man. You know how Batman has the best rogues gallery of villains? Spider-Man's number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And Craven
Mhm.
is right up there with Doc Ock and everybody. It's like
Yeah.
top-notch villain. And they're gonna, if they do what they did with Morbius, I'll be so
Ah,
fucking upset.
Oh yeah, and
I think
Spider-Man
that they're,
3
but
turns Doc
see,
Ock into a good guy.
I think that they're using. I think that they're
Great
using
actors.
the timeline, the portion of the timeline for
Fuck.
Morbius when he became an anti-hero. Like because he was originally Spider-Man's villain, but then like as
Mhm.
time went on, he became like a anti-hero kind of like what you call it in the
Yeah, they
comic
do
books
that.
on its own. So
Mm-hmm.
I think like that's really that's the portion of that's the portion of or the timeline, the part on the timeline
Mhm.
that they
But,
took
but I agree with you
and
there.
projected onto the screen.
You're giving them a lot of
No,
credit.
no. But the
I
thing is,
don't
I
I'm
think
just
they
agree.
saying,
do.
no, but it's the truth because like
No, but then
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
would
when he
make
No, yeah.
spun off
sense,
and got his own comic books, like he was an anti-hero, and
right?
this was years
Mhm,
after.
mhm.
Like
What
he
you're saying,
initially came in.
what you're saying would make sense if they didn't do that little shit with Vulture at the end, and him going, "Oh yeah, let's team up."
We should
So
team up.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I get if they had not put that one little scene at the end, I'm with you all the way, Keith.
Mm.
Actually, here, let's try this. Do you guys remember the '90s Spawn
Oh
movie?
yeah,
Yes, I remember that movie.
Okay, now that is an anti-hero movie. Somebody, like, this is a hero movie. There was no anti anywhere in here. Like, even Venom, yeah, you can say it. Like, they could save this whole thing if, going by Keith's idea, if they give us a fall from grace of these characters somehow. Like, instead of just, oh, here's Spider-Man, now they're the villains, fight. If they could turn me right around, if they have a movie where you have these characters trying to be heroes, falling from grace, real interesting stuff. But
You can still
I
do a
just know in
Spider-Man
my
movie,
heart this is not
Chris.
happening.
You can still do a Spider-Man movie. Introduce, let's say, Craven, the way Thanos was introduced in the Avengers: Infinity War. You could actually do a movie. Maybe it's not an hour and a half. It might have to be plus 2 hours, where Spider-Man is still the main hero, and then Craven is like the Thanos, where okay, you get more about this character and why he's driven to capture and kill Spider-Man. You can still do that. You just need the right writers and director and
But they're not
talent.
doing that. They're already making a Craven movie with that. I'm saying, to save this Sony universe, this villains as heroes
There's no
universe,
saving that universe,
or
dude. That universe
or
is
even more interesting, bring in a Spider-Man as the villain to these guys. Something just totally
all right.
off
Now
base.
you on that wacky.
I'm telling you, they gotta do something interesting to get me,
Sony
like,
is not gonna damage. Like no
Venom
way.
2, Venom 2, like, I was like, Venom 1 was better than I thought. That was actually kind of fun. It's kind of funny. You know, like the Eddie Brock thing was kind of cool, and then Venom 2 just kind of was kind of,
man. Yeah,
and this is just worse than the two of them combined. This is, whew. It just
Yeah,
didn't
this
do
was
anything for me. Like
yeah.
Morbius wasn't a character that I wanted to get behind. He wasn't. It didn't feel like, I don't know. Jared Leto wasn't making me feel like,
And you
oh,
know what
okay,
killed
it's a
me?
new
Because
hero I want to root for. I just
Chris,
wasn't prepared for
what
it.
killed me is Keith says this to me all the time. When the trailer's that amazing, you gotta manage your expectations. And I really love the trailer of Morbius. I thought Morbius was gonna be much more fantastic. I did. I know a lot of folks didn't, but I looked at the trailers and I was like, all right, they packaged this right. I think this movie got something. And I came in with higher expectations for Morbius because of the trailer. And, you know, obviously I'm let down, but
See, I think they do them. I think they do themselves a disservice by making all the trailers like,
Action packed,
yeah, like
all the
yeah,
highs.
but
yeah.
these
Now
days
they
you
all look
have to.
like you're
You have
expecting a
to.
Marvel type movie, and I'm super behind the whole idea that it's a whole different lane, and like so like you gotta let that lane live, and even the from the preview kind of like angle, like go ahead and let it live, like let it live on its own. Make
I mean,
something different, like
if I
make
felt
the
like they were
trailer
trying to
different.
do something different, I could do that. But it just feels like they're just doing a bad version of a Marvel movie. Like
But
rather
it
than
is a
doing
Marvel
something
movie, regardless of whether it's a bad movie or not.
right, but if you're just going to do a bad version, what's the point of doing it? Like you're not obviously
What's a
the people have
Marvel
spoken
movie?
with
That's what I'm
a,
saying.
a
Are you
s-
comparing it to the MCU, which is,
of
and I know
course
it's
because
called
it's the
Marvel,
cold.
Marvel, what cinematic universe, but really it's everything connected and offshoots of the Avengers
No, it's not
and
even about the
Spider-Man.
connectivity. Marvel has a feel to their movies. Some people like it, most people like it, some people really dislike it, that's fine. But Marvel has a not exactly a formula, they let things break it, but it is. They have X amount of action, X amount of
When you
comedy,
say
X amount of
Marvel, you
drama.
gotta be clear. Marvel Cinema MCU.
MCU movie, an
Okay.
MCU movie. But like they have a story structure that makes you care about the characters. Like the MCU is built on you giving a shit about the characters.
I
And
don't give a shit about Hawkeye.
well, but
Okay,
that's okay because they
but
have a dozen other characters. You're one of them is going
I
to connect
don't
with
give
you.
a shit about what's his name with the metal wings, little
Falcon,
head dude.
Falcon.
I
Yeah,
don't
me
give a
neither.
shit
But
about
that's like
Falcon.
saying, all right. So the
He can
equivalent is like
disappear.
you
He can
follow. Hold
disappear
on,
off the whole Marvel
hold on,
universe and
Keith,
never appear
Keith.
again.
Let's imagine like sports, right? You may if let's say if you're a Warriors fan, you may not give a shit about Andrew Wiggins, but Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and Draymond Green carry
Yeah.
that fucking team.
So
So the
what?
next guy on the bench, you don't care about those guys. But I mean, even if you're a diehard Warriors fan, you're like, yeah, you know, whatever. If he happens to come to my kid's school tomorrow and signs an autograph, you know, Jordan Poole, yeah, sign this, yeah, whatever, Jordan Poole. But you're gonna be consider yourself a Warriors fan. So for the regular geek world, you're a Marvel fan. You don't give a shit about Falcon. You don't give a shit about freaking Hawkeye.
But
However, you like the brand that is the MCU, and you stand by that brand as MCU.
I stand by creative freedom. And I think what you guys are doing are boxing Marvel into a certain
no,
type of way
no,
of
what I
being
would
able to
like,
present these movies. And I feel like
I
they're
would like
being way too Nazi-esque about that. They can
Whoa,
definitely
big words,
they,
Nazi. Yeah.
they can definitely like it can open up. Like they can have different ways of presenting these movies. Why don't
Well,
we
that's what I'm
let
saying.
them?
I would
Yeah,
like that. I would love it. I would absolutely be on board if Sony was trying to do. If I saw something, I'm like, okay,
Hold on, I
Sony's
don't want
going a
Sony
different way.
to Last Jedi the fucking Spider-Man universe. No,
But,
that's not
but
what I want.
they they're not doing anything interesting where they're bringing me along as a watcher, going, hey, you know what? These characters are something you can get behind and something you can watch and be excited for a slightly different type
Yeah.
of
So
universe.
Keith, what I was trying to say earlier is Star Wars tried the same shit. They gave us Last Jedi. They're like, you know what?
Which is the best one, but
which is
that's
the
okay.
worst one. So I'm not trying to box Star
Best
Wars
one.
with like the George Lucas theory. So you know what? I'm gonna be creative and do something ultra different, and they fucked up that franchise.
No, but that's along a singular storyline. You cannot you cannot compare
All right,
Star
good point.
Wars,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is a
you're right.
singular
You're
storyline,
correct.
to
You're correct.
Marvel,
Exactly,
which is
yes.
a whole
Which is a
universe of
multi.
different
Yeah.
storylines.
Exactly.
Come on,
Great
man!
point.
Like y'all are being disingenuous to the whole.
No.
It's y'all
There
people
are,
who make Marvel have to lock in creatively to one lane. Like
But no,
let
I
them
but they're
live.
not.
hang on, hang
That's
on.
what we're
I
saying.
don't have
flow.
a problem with that. I don't have a problem with different
We
lanes.
all want them
But this
something
one just
interesting.
wasn't good to me. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean?
Like they failed to make a separate lane. They failed to make something interesting. Like we all watched Invincible and went, "Hey, that's a superhero
That's a
thing that
totally
I want
different
to
lane.
continue to
Yeah.
watch." The Boys, I watched The Boys. That was interesting. That's a different lane. Like they have a chance to make a separate lane and they're just not doing a good job of it.
That's what I think
Like
too. Yeah.
I don't want
That
them to
part you
be the
can't.
MCU. That's
You can't
fine.
argue good versus. You can't. If it's
But
good, it's
you don't
good.
want them to be the MCU, but all your points are points that they aren't this, they aren't that from the MCU though.
Oh, that's
Like
Chris's point.
that's a
Chris's
little
point,
bit
not my
like
point.
My
which
point basically
which
comes
one
from the
is it?
character of Spider-Man and his
Yeah.
world, which happens, unfortunately, to live side by
Yeah.
side and interconnectedly with
I
a lot
kind
of
of
the other
see,
stuff.
Chris, I see your point a lot more now listening to you talk because you already established this character in the MCU, and now you have villains that are associated with the villains of the MCU. It just doesn't make sense, and I get
Right.
it. And I don't think Sony thought about that. I think Sony wanted to
That's
build
the
a
problem.
movie, and they wanted to make money. Period.
That's the only
They didn't care
reason.
about the continuity.
That's the only
They
reason
didn't
they
care about.
threw Vulture in the trailer
Yeah.
Right.
is
That
to
is
get butts in seat.
if you want to make a new lane, you shouldn't be snatching Vulture
Right.
over there. The my issue, like I've said this before, way before Morbius came out, and that is Sony should have taken and created a separate Spider-Man universe. Leave the MCU Spider-Man to the MCU. Leave Tom Holland making his billion-dollar movies
That wouldn't have worked
with that.
either. That wouldn't have worked.
And
That wouldn't have worked. Let's
I'm
be honest.
telling
That
you,
would
you
not have
make a
worked.
Miles Morales Spider-Man universe,
That
you're
is
gonna get butts in
Miles
the
Morales is
seats.
still their highest critically acclaimed IP
That's what I'm
production.
saying. You make this universe and you say, okay, well, we can't quite get the Tom Holland thing going because he's over there working on that and they won't let us play in that sandbox. Let's make, like Keith said, make our own thing, make our own lane.
By the way,
And to do
I'm
that,
getting ravaged by these mosquitoes. So let's
all right, to do that, you have to break your mold. And the mold is not doing another Peter Parker, a fourth this, a third that. Like, fuck, get away from those guys, Peter Parker. You have like 20 Spider-Men who live in this universe.
20
You
Spider-Man.
like literally pick one. Spider Gwen, the girl with the robot, like Spider Noir. Like I don't care, pick one and do something with it. But no, they are stuck playing a little brother to the MCU instead.
Mm.
Keith is right in that they should be doing something different. It would bring people interested in it. It would bring
But
me
I don't think they
along,
have the right
but
people
they're not
behind
doing
it.
it.
Yes, they're not. They don't have the right people. Sony, let's be honest, guys. Like, I don't know why we pussyfooting around. Sony has terrible writers, terrible directors when it comes to these things. Like they're almost as bad as DC.
Now, I want to look up what the last several Sony movies are.
Like you have all these characters. You know what? And I love the fact that I'm about to be 46 next month, and I grew up reading these comic books, and like grew up the original Superman, uh, Richard Donner, Superman, 1979, and we're living in a golden, super platinum age where we get to see your least favorite actor, or I'm sorry, least favorite comic book character on a live screen, Rocket Raccoon, or freaking Ego. and yet we're still getting poor quality versions of these things. And I'm like, you know what? I should be upset. If I was a Morbius fan, I'm not. I should be upset looking at this version of him on the screen. Like, what the fuck is this? This ain't the
All right.
Morbius.
I
I
don't
typed
think that
in.
Morbius tracks very high on the fan
I
scale.
don't think so either. But there's
No,
got to be
No,
some
but
that's
no,
fans
no.
out
Hold
there.
I
on,
don't think.
hold on.
I feel
Time
like
out.
this is
Pause.
them introducing with a. There's the characters that are popular, but you have now a whole universe of characters. So you have the characters that are popular, but there's also an opportunity with the characters that you can make popular. So now you can
right.
sell. Now you can sell comic books in like now you can go backwards with it. Like the movie can help
Mm-hmm.
propel sales of that Morbius comic books and graphic novels.
Like the Matt Fraction run of
You know what I'm saying? Like it's
yeah.
you
Hawkeye.
can do two things. You can profit off of like already having popularity, and also because of you making products of that nature, you can now introduce other things and make them more popular.
What I was gonna say earlier is
Yeah,
that I
no,
know.
absolutely. It's
But I
actually
doubt that
it's
Morbius was a fan favorite, and that's why
No,
they
when I
picked.
say
no, but
fan
that's how.
favorite, I know Spider-Man geeks, super geeks, a couple of them at Comic Con that I met, that talked about Morbius as like their top five, one of the top five characters from the Spider-Man franchise, and I'm like, yeah, really? And they were like, yes. Like if you read certain lines, McFarlane was interested, and I'm like, I don't connect with that character like that, but to them they do. And these are people with paying seats. They go to the movies and they buy the video games. They support the hell out of the Spider-Man IP, and they're disappointed.
Well, and that's what the MCU did is they took their B tier and they made them A tier. And now they sell and now they're popular and Sony has that option. Okay, so I did a quick search for Sony movies. So outside of this whole Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man universe, they got Bloodshot, they got Men in Black, Charlie's Angels, Ghost Rider. They do have the Jumanji series. Yeah, I think their last success was Bad Boys for Life.
But for like,
Yeah, remember Sony's Columbia Pictures, right? They have a whole catalog of stuff. So
Yeah, but I'm thinking recent.
mhm.
Like
their recent hits, yeah,
the recent hit is the Jumanji series,
that's
and
their biggest hit,
a
Chris. That's their biggest hit, Jumanji.
let's here. I think so. Let's
Jesus.
here. Outside of Spider-Man,
Well, no,
it's
Spider-Man
always
No
going
Way
to come up
Home.
with
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
That's $1 billion movie right there.
So yeah, the highest grossing are Spider-Man, Skyfall,
Oh, they own the
Jumanji.
Bond joint too.
Yeah, they
So
own.
so
Oh,
yeah, so all of their top movies are either
No, they don't own
Spider-Man,
Bond. No,
Bond.
Bond is
no.
MGM.
Okay.
No, all-time worldwide box office for Sony Pictures movies. I
Yeah,
so
somebody said
I'm
Bond though.
showing
James Bond.
Yeah, I thought I
yeah,
heard
Skyfall,
Skyfall is
Spectre.
James Bond, dude.
That's all
Mm-hmm.
MGM, which was
All right,
just bought by
go to the
Amazon.
tape. As Keith would say, go to the tape. Geek off.
Remember, Amazon was
So
making a
If
big deal about
if
buying MGM and
if Sony
doing James
owned
Bond.
James Bond, that's huge.
Sony may distribute.
Yeah, it's possible because MGM it's gotten
That's
so small that yeah.
yeah. MGM is a production, and Sony distributes it. Yeah,
Okay.
worldwide.
Sony distributes. Yeah, so their big. It's still the so their biggest Sony releases are all Spider-Man, James Bond, and Jumanji.
Mm-hmm.
The first one that's not that is number 12, which is the Da Vinci Code. And then you just like it's just then you're going back to things like Hancock at 17, like that's how bad
Yeah,
Sony's they have Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man is keeping them
keeping
afloat.
the entire movie production company alive. Like if I was an employee at Sony Movie Productions, I'd be shopping my resume
You'd be scared with these numbers
and shopping my
because
resume.
just so everybody knows, the second weekend,
I apologize to
Morbius
all my
dropped
Sony employee subscribers, by the way.
74%, which is one of the largest second weekend drops in history.
Yeah,
74%
yeah.
drop. Ouch.
Again, I had to reiterate. I apologize to all our Sony employee subscribers.
Hey, they know. They know. When you work at a company that's like being held aloft by one thing,
Hemorrhaging,
you know.
hemorrhaging money. Yeah,
It's got
So
Sony
yeah,
guts.
it's an interesting thing because they don't have like a streaming service. They're one of the few major
which I'm
companies without a streaming
shocked.
service,
I'm shocked because they got the PlayStation. Like right now, I'm staying I'm in Florida. Hello,
which is
PlayStation.
probably what's really keeping them afloat is the
Yes,
PlayStation.
the PlayStation. Why can't they build off that platform a streaming service?
Yeah, but you can't sell. Selling
Dude, don't.
hardware
Whoa,
is
whoa.
kind
Sony
of.
Pictures and PlayStation is. Remember, Sony's a
Totally
huge
different.
ass company.
Yeah,
Sony is
but
not.
again, hold on, hold
Yeah,
on,
like that's
hold
two
on,
different
hold on.
even.
Yeah.
Chris and Key, hold on. Disney learn how to do this shit better than anybody. They have a whole conglomerate of we have this content, we have that content, and we learn how to synergize all of everything in between. Why can't Sony do that? Don't tell me because Sony Pictures and PlayStation are different. Because
No,
Disney
it's not
learned
that
that
they
shit.
can.
I don't think they have the. Outside of. We see the amount of content they have. That's they don't have the content library to. It'd be easier for them,
That's
less
different.
money,
Yeah, that's
to
different.
just be like Disney. Yeah, pay us X amount. You guys take the Spider-Man distribution rights for streaming, and then we'll send Smurfs over to Amazon, for a few bucks,
Hmm.
Because
and
right
that
now
kind of
I'm
stuff.
looking at the PlayStation 5 that's here, and you can have Amazon, Disney Plus, Hulu. All this stuff is
Yeah,
available
yeah,
on
yeah.
Sony's PlayStation console. Which imagine if Sony had their own streaming service.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of extraneous streaming services at this point, as I'm still paying for Paramount Plus for some reason.
Here's
And
here's Pete.
Paramount Plus.
what's the other one? Not Paramount. It's the NBC one,
Peacock.
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 I think I'm still paying for that piece of shit.
God,
Like
I
why?
I saw a real peacock today, by the way. But yeah,
I was paying for it for football for like I think it was like Tuesday, like Monday night or Sunday night football or whatever. Yeah, I meant to get rid of it. I think my wife's watching some old Law and Order stuff. One of the two. I mean, that's the problem. You start getting these things, you get a bunch of them. You start watching one or two things, and then you just like every month you're like,
next
yeah,
thing
I'll
you
pay
know, you
that
have two
$12,
cable
that
subscriptions.
$15.
You
Like
have
it's
your
just
regular cable,
$12. Yeah.
and then you have. Hold on, Chris. I had the same conversation today because I was talking to chat here, and I'm like, I realized I'm paying for regular, freaking Verizon Fios, and I'm paying almost close to the same amount on streaming services. Like we were right
Mm-hmm.
back to where we started.
That's what I
You
was
are.
Yeah,
saying before. Like cats are gonna go right back to
I
cable
am.
packages.
but you know what? It is. I love being able to. I have a lot more choice than I have with cable. Like it just there is benefits to it, but I the cost has crept up really high, and you're like, but I
And
kind of
watch,
want to. The
it's
problem
gonna
is I also
migrate.
want like I'm like, oh,
It's gonna
Amazon, oh,
migrate right
Apple, what are
back
you
to that
releasing?
to
And
that form.
it might be easier, but the question now is who's going to be in enough dire straits financially to give up to their competitor,
But
because
you know
that's
what?
what's happening,
Chris, I was gonna
right?
say I thought about canceling my actual regular cable and just go with like my streaming services until I realized today I wanted like I'm in Florida. I wanted to see what's happening in Brooklyn today. Shout out to my New York citizens and the terrible tragedy that happened today. And
Hmm.
regular cable, I'm going through like the channels and I can't get like what's happening in New York City local news with the tragedy today. And I'm like, I can't cancel regular cable and just go streaming services because you know what? Unfortunately, unless I have my phone with me all the time and I'm checking the internet, I'm missing a lot of like local information that I would get from like my local cable subscriber.
Yeah, but
and that's how they get me.
You can get that with an HD antenna. I don't
Yeah,
understand.
if you're in Canada,
No,
in
that's
Jersey, it
Yeah,
doesn't
you
work
don't have
that
to be in
same.
No, you
Canada.
can,
Nah.
same
Me
thing
in
here.
Canada,
Yeah,
I can get Buffalo if I throw up an HD antenna.
yeah, same thing here.
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not putting anything on my roof. I tried the indoor ones. They suck. You have to go for the full range. Get that shit up on your
Yeah, I
roof,
just
and
replaced my roof.
I'm not
I'm
bothering.
not putting anything on my roof, but
Okay,
yeah.
but
I
once
technically
it
could.
goes up, you're not
I
paying for
technically could
anything
have done that.
anymore, right? It's free
Yeah,
over
but
the
I
air.
technically could have done that, but it was easier for me to just to pay the money and go get NBC Peacock, and
Okay, but then don't
NBC
complain.
Peacock.
I'm gonna complain
Yeah,
anyway.
but
It's
That's
my
what I
job.
say.
but
Like,
but
then
but hold
you
on.
like
You hope you
complaining.
live. But hold on, Chris. You hope you live in a region because I know where you live. You hope you live in a region where NBC local news and Peacock gives you actual local news and
Well, yeah, I mean,
not like national news. You know.
it's also that kind of stuff. When I did the whole antenna thing, I did that for a few months. I could only get two of the four local channels because of where your house sits, where the next house sits, where there's a tree. Like you can't automatically get everything just because you throw an antenna up. There is some physical things that get in your way, which is why it's easier to order a service or whatever. But I don't know. It's an option, but
By the way,
it's not
we're
always the
so way
easiest
off
option.
topic of Morbius, and that was
Yeah,
me watching the movie.
Okay.
Hold on, that was
Yeah.
me watching the movie. I actually had a time to Skype you guys and text you guys. I check my Weeble stock account, check work email while watching the movie,
Yeah,
and that's not a good
let's talk about
sign.
Halo. Let's talk about Severance. Let's talk about something good. All
That's
right.
not a good
Let's do our
freaking sign in that
grades.
movie.
Let's do our grades.
Yes,
Mike, what'd you
let's
grade
do
for
that.
Morbius?
All right.
Mike, you go first, man.
Yeah,
Let me hear
yeah,
Mike's
Mike
yeah.
can
grade.
edit out that 20 minutes of non-Morbius talk.
No, keep everything here on the final edit cut. Don't Zack Snyder this shit or
Everything
or
but the
Josh
Morbius
Whedon.
talk. Keep
Josh.
everything but
That's
we're
No,
right.
Morbius
not we're
talk.
Josh
not
Whedon.
saving it. We're not saving it for the Snyder cut.
All right. This entire episode is about HD
It's like we can
antennas.
sell the movie twice. What is wrong
It's
with you?
about the the cost of
That's
streaming
right.
services and
Trick
HD
people into
antennas.
watching the same movie twice and get double the money. Fucking hell.
All right. So I am going to grade this a C minus. So it's not, like I said, not terrible. Could have been way better for me. There was very confusing plot points in it. So do better, Sony.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do better. All right, Keith, go ahead.
I'm gonna give it a solid C plus. Like it's lots of room for improvement, but like in a general test, it passes my eye test. And like I'm interested to see what they would do with those ancillary characters that I really kind of didn't care about.
All right,
I
James.
just like seeing new stuff.
Yeah, no, new stuff is good.
I don't need
James,
Keith,
what do
another
you got?
Batman movie.
Keith, there's plenty of new stuff we could watch together on Disney Plus,
I'm not.
Paul.
That's why I gave it a C plus. I'm not saying it's the best new stuff, but
Yeah.
it's like I don't need another Superman movie. I don't need another X-Men movie. I don't need another like. Give me
Oh,
something
I
new.
need an
It's like
X-Men
it's almost
movie.
like the
Don't
end of
don't.
creativity.
Yeah, I need you to start watching Mandalorian, Boba Fett, other
I'm
shows
not
that I think you'll
interested in
like.
that trash
Oh,
Well, those movies are better than what you just watched and gave a C plus.
because you're interested in the content. This is a superhero movie. I'm interested in superheroes. I give two fucks about Star Wars.
Watch Halo. Watch Halo.
Halo's good.
You
Halo,
should watch Halo.
actually, yeah, I think you love Halo.
Hmm.
Halo.
No, yeah, I mean
Actually,
to. I
like
mean
after this
to.
podcast, Chad and I are gonna watch Halo for the first time, and he's like, military trained. He's gonna love it.
Yeah.
I mean
So
to.
Okay, James,
my
great.
grade D plus,
D plus.
Woo!
not D for
Down to the
Mm.
D's.
not D for doo doo, not D for Disney Plus, but a D plus. Yeah, man. I'm not. It's not worth my C's. And I'm starting to get more
Mhm.
selective in my grades. Thank you, Mike. By the way, thank you for the little, internal conversation.
All right. So I guess It's funny because I've had this thought in my mind about doing a like how to read reviews, especially like the number of reviews you got from uh, the 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 critical reviews versus the consumer reviews on like Rotten Tomatoes, where it's just about what are you prioritizing? Are you prioritizing going and sitting down and just enjoying yourself no matter kind of what? Or you were prioritizing, oh well, the script and the story and the character arcs and the production values and the blah. So those will change your grades quite a bit. I find when you prioritize yourself differently. Um, if I look at this as a movie, I like the graphics, I like the designs overall. I thought the makeup, the CGI, the that all stuff worked really well. I kind of liked all that. I thought there were some moments where they had some good ideas. I could have done good with this, but really it fell apart really hard for me most of the time. And I felt like I didn't have any character. Like if I don't have a character or anything to connect to, I think that my grade just plummets through the floor. I'm gonna go with C minus. I think it was a okay enough to stay in the C range, not quite a D movie. You know, I think D's are more for abject like
Fast Furious.
humiliation, like Batman v Superman humiliation of the character kind
And
of
the
stuff.
last three Fast Furious movies.
You're right, exactly. So no, I give it a C minus. I watched it and I remember watching it. Like that's what you get out of it. Not like Bloodshot where I couldn't even remember watching that thing.
I went to the
I was like,
movie
did I watch
theaters and
that
watched
movie?
that movie. God, right before the pandemic. Actually, right during the
Honestly, I
pandemic.
think
But
Bloodshot was better than this one, though.
yeah, Bloodshot was a better movie than this
Yeah,
movie.
I think so.
I don't know. Vin Diesel
Kid, do
just
you
doesn't do it
agree?
for me.
No.
I might maybe equal
I
at
think
best.
there's some
Like
argument to be had there.
Mhm.
that's because you're putting Vin Diesel up very high in that.
Relax. I don't hold Vin Diesel very high of anything.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if you say it's Bloodshot's better, that you're giving a lot of credit to Vin Diesel there that I don't want to give. All right, everybody.
On principle, I can't give him that much credit.
That's right. Sorry, Brooks. No
Sorry,
Vin
bro.
Diesel love today. All right, Mike. Where can people find us and give us their opinions on Bloodshot or Morbius or Vin Diesel?
So right now, if you go up to your roof and you throw up an HD antenna, you will be able to not pick up the signals from our show. But if you go on the internet, we're at Heroes Peak at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Click that bell in the corner to get notifications. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment below.
Hold on.
All right,
Leave
thanks.
a comment. By the way, shout out to everyone who left a comment on our last podcast.
Shout out,
Megan,
Thank
yeah,
you.
shout out all the
everyone,
shout outs.
much appreciated. We love it. Keep going. Don't stop. Leave more comments.
Don't stop, won't stop.
Stop texting James, Grandma. Leave a comment.
That too. That
Uh,
too. That too.
All right. Thanks for joining me, guys. You have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Good night.
Later.